Hello and hey, this is Zerogokin Reviews, and fuck this gay Earth. Let's talk about Rayearth, the Sentinel Riobot Rayearth, a robot from a series that involves Japanese schoolgirls who go sparkly and nude to fight with robots in a fantasy world. In weeb words, this is a Mahou Shoujo Mecha Isekai series. Aside from the Isekai part, that sounds pretty sick. It's also a really good deconstruction of the Mahou Shoujo genre, because if you actually dissect all the elements of Mahou Shoujo and take them to their logical conclusion, you will almost definitely end up with Aura Battler Dunbine. This is just a joke, by the way. Dunbine is very different. They don't even look similar. Okay, that does look similar, but this is still a joke. They're both old Isekai mecha animes, but their individual takes on a fantasy world are quite different. We'll talk about Dunbine in due time, but in Rayearth, the fantasy world is called Cephiro, and it's very orky, in the sense that willpower and belief can shape reality. It's also a fantasy world that really likes the Star of David. I can't enjoy it as much as someone who grew up with it, but as you can probably tell, I did watch the show. I actually watched the entire first season for this video, and I'm a grown-ass man who yelled at a kid's show for girls for not showing me robots. It took 10 episodes for one to show up, and... God damn it. There are finally robot fights at episode 19. That being said, I'm gonna be honest and say that I actually kinda like this show. I do enjoy a good shoujo manga every now and then, so it's not really surprising. It is a kid's show, so it's not a show I could give my full attention to, but I did actually really enjoy elements of the story. Oh, and of course there's plushes of this piece of shit. Box feels weirdly sturdy for a Riobot, so that's good. They only made Rayearth and not the other two, which is a shame because I like them. If this is how they were going to do it, it might have been better to just make the, you know... I'm glad they didn't because I like Rayearth's design a lot more. I did bring up earlier about how it looks like an Aura Phantasm design, which are some of my favorite things ever. So if your robot looks like an Aura Phantasm design, then it's probably fucking great. Rayearth is like Fire Turbine. I fucking love it. As for this figure, I do really like how this looks. This is basically just the Rayearth design translated into figure form. They did a very good job at that, although I can see some of the comments this video is going to get already. So let's change the future and talk about why you would get this over the Nendoroids, which for the price of this, you can get all three of them and still have some money left. Whereas for the price, this is a bit underwhelming. And even disregarding the price, there are a few issues I have with it. But other than how this is pre-painted, pre-assembled, there is a good reason to get this instead, and that's that this is an adaptation, whereas the Nendoroids are a reinterpretation. The shapes are sharper and more robotic. Part of Rayearth's charms for me are its shapes, which is why I don't really like the Nendoroids. But if you do, then you should definitely get those over this. The size difference isn't that significant, and the diecast here is quite minimal. Based on my friend's experience, the Nendoroids are a mixed bag. Some of them are great, some of them are not so much so. So I don't know how good these are going to be, but I do know that for a Riobot, this isn't great. And that does also mean the articulation is a bit of a mixed bag. For aforementioned reasons, the figure isn't great to handle, and the legs work in a similar way to old Reveltechs, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, like it does work, but it's just unconventional in a somewhat unintuitive way. I don't understand why they couldn't just do it like the 1000 Toys figures. Like, I believe 1000 Toys is a Sentinel offshoot. Anyway. No shit, Hikaru Shido. You get all that you'd need, and they're convenient to attach. So I don't really have anything to say about them. Instead of attaching to the arm, it is just another arm. So when you first see him flying, if we ignore how he's T-posing, the weird thing here is that the shield is somehow in this position. Otherwise, visually, the shield is probably the most striking part of this design, and it's fucking sick. Maybe not quite as much, but this sword is also fucking sick, and can even be fucking lit. These fire effects are real cool looking, but they're also a real pain. This one doesn't stay in, and you have to use the stand because they're too heavy. Speaking of the devil, Sentinel stand. There's nothing wrong with it. Guts, Mazinger, Ludens. Overall, it's a hard recommend, but if you like how it looks, don't mind the price, and can live with the issues, I guess I can recommend it. Otherwise, no. And that's about it. Thank you to the patrons. Another big thank you to my good friend who filmed the figure shots. And I'll see y'all next time.
Van